Well, welcome to Posture. You have come a long way in building a very strong foundation for your golf swing. I know it can be kind of burdensome in some ways because you're doing a lot of stuff and you're not even hitting golf balls. You know, the setup can be kind of boring if you're honest. You don't even swing. You just hold it right. You line yourself up right. You put the ball in the right place and you stand in posture. However, once again, let me reassure you, if you're trying to build anything and you have a really shaky foundation, then trouble is coming your way. So I've taught golf for a very long time, and most of the time when you see goofy things in a person's golf swing, there's a direct line that can draw back to the root, and that root has something to do with the way that they're setting up. Bad grip, bad alignment, bad ball position, or in bad posture. Where these typically come from is trying to manipulate the shot and deal with the results of the shot. I'm not hitting it good, I twist my hand around. I'm not hitting it straight, I twist my hand the other way around. I got to line up over there, I got to line up over here, I got to put the ball in play. Like everything changes for the worse based on the result that you're having on that given day. So anyway, just a reminder, I know I sound like mom telling you to eat your broccoli, but you know, it's good for you. Well, broccoli, at any rate, setup is good for you. All right, let's get it. I've got the two cameras rolling again, so I'm going to switch back and forth to views. The first thing we're going to talk about is in this view, because you're going to see the down the line view of how I go through this quick little process to help get you into proper posture. It's quick, but I'm going to explain it, so it won't be as quick as I wished it was. So for you to understand it, I got to talk a little bit, and I've heard I'm really good at talking. So anyway, the first thing you do is take your really, really good grip. You stretch your arms out. And by the way, I'm also standing in proper alignment, and I'm standing with the ball position correct. And so all those dynamics are really good. I'm not killing Pete. Stretch your arms out until they become relatively straight. What happens when you do this is your arms get really close together. They feel like they're close together. Like if I took some rope and tied your forearms together, that would be an extreme example of how I want your arms. Doing it that much tends to introduce tension, so I'm not a huge fan of that visual, but you get my point. You can also notice that the cups right on top of your elbow are kind of pointed up in both arms. That's because your arms are stretched out. Keep them relatively relaxed. The next thing you do is just lower your arms and hands until your arms rest against your torso. Once your arms are rested against your torso, then we can deal with the bottom of, we're going to start from the ground up. So we'll talk about the feet first. Feet, I like to see the back foot, if you're right-handed, your right foot, left-handed, your left foot, square to the target line. So it makes that perpendicular line on the back foot. On the lead foot, I like to see it pointed out just slightly towards the target. By pointing the lead foot out towards the target a little bit, it functions much like throwing a ball. If you ever notice when you throw a ball, your foot naturally wants to turn out towards the target. It provides some balance, but also it frees up this hip joint and increases how much you can turn. You can even experiment with it yourself. Turn your lead foot all the way towards the target, and you'll see how freely your hips tend to turn. Square it up and try to do the same thing, and you'll feel the restriction, the pull on the inner part of your thigh and leg. So to increase rotation coming into the shot, which most people need to do every once in a while, but gosh, it's like 1 out of every 500 like turns too much coming into the shot. So generally, I'm going to say 1/4 of a turn towards the target. If you're older and struggle with turn, or for whatever reason struggle with turn, I'm just older, so I relate to it. You may want to turn it out a little bit more and just experiment and see what helps the rotation of your shot. Back foot square, lead foot pointed out to the target a little bit, arms resting against your torso. Now we're going to get you headed towards the ground. The knees, I like to see from a basically locked knee position. I like to see that you just unlock them, and then we're going to take your hips and move them backwards. The old visual, I still love it, is it's as if you're going to lift your seat up to sit into a bar stool. So it looks something like this. Your hips need to go back to reach for where that bar stool is, and simultaneously see what happens. My torso starts going down to the ground. Keep your back relatively straight, athletically straight. It doesn't have to be completely rigid. It hurts my back to keep it rigid. But as I go from this lock knee position, I unlock them, reach back for that bar stool, and I start to bend over. To complete, you just keep your torso moving forward until the club touches the ground. And there, from this vantage point, you are in a very good posture. It really is just that simple. A couple of things that happen. I'm gonna freeze this video and draw some lines while I explain this. But what you see is a relatively straight line beginning from the ankle to the knee. The bend that tends to happen in a good setup happens from the knee back to the hips, and then the back tilts forward, and then the bend that tilts forward happens from the hips, keeping your back relatively straight. The next thing you see is that that allows my torso to be over in front of my body enough so my arms can hang directly underneath my shoulders, and I put my club in my hand, and that's it. Now, one thing I'll mention, I get asked a lot, especially by beginners, is how far away should you be from the ball? Set up in proper posture, put the club in your hand. When the club hits the ground, from proper setup, from proper posture, that's how far away you should be with each club. Each club is longer and stuff, and you don't want to change your posture much. It does change a little bit when you get all the way to the extremes from a wedge and a driver, but the sensation is that I'm remaining basically the same, and let my distance from the ball be determined by the length of the club and not by me either reaching out for a driver or reaching in for a wedge. I want it to be essentially exactly the same. Again, real consistency builder. If your mechanics of your body are able to do the same things but accomplish the different shots, then that's a lot easier than trying to figure out 14 different setups for 14 different golf clubs. All right, so from this perspective, that's really all that I need to share with you. Of course, you can get more detailed in posture, but that's a great basic setup and will help you get to that next level in your golf game. Next, we're going to talk about this front view. All right, from the front view, just a couple of things. Because there's several things from the down the line view and only a couple from the front view. Don't mistake it to mean that it's not as important. It's very, very important, and I want to explain a couple of the ramifications that happen due to these couple of factors from the front view. Essentially, what you'd see if you see me at any rate setting up, and really this mimics a very large percentage of professional golfers, tour players, is the thing you'd notice is that my spine is not straight up and down, but my spine is actually tilted away from the target I'm trying to hit it to. Now, me and you could have played golf 100 times, and you would probably never notice, like, hey, why is he bent over so weird? So what I'm saying is, don't exaggerate it to the point that it gets completely out of balance and unathletic. It's a very slight tilting. Almost what it should look like is like your shoulders are at a slight angle going uphill, is a good way to view it. What happens, however, is that if you only do that, if you tilt your shoulders back, you've actually pushed a lot of weight because your torso is now leaning towards your right side or left side if you're left-handed, and I don't want that. So use your hips. So simultaneously in the setup, what begins to happen is that your hips kind of slide forward while your torso leans back a little bit. So it's just that couple of 3 inches that the hips go forward and the shoulder gets to a slight tilt. I also have the preference, and I would say most students that I teach, I end up here, but not every one of them. But I favor, my weight distribution is favoring the left side just slightly. There's probably 10% more weight on my left side than there is on my right side at setup. And to me, that really helps promote the correct weight distribution when I swing the club and come down in and hit it. But that's for other lessons. So again, it really just looks like this, is that you slide your hips a little bit forward and kind of push into the ground with that left foot. And while your shoulders get a little tilted, if I really exaggerate it, it starts to look like this. So don't look exact. You don't need to look exaggerated. It just needs to be a little bit athletically back there. A huge factor in your golf swing and contacting the ball correctly is called angle of attack. Angle of attack is defined by what angle is the club coming down to the ground at a steep angle, or is it coming into the ground at a more shallow angle? Everybody has their own preferences. There are great players with very steep swings, and there's great players with very shallow swings. My preference for most recreational players, and certainly myself, is to lean towards the shallow side of things. Shallow means that your mishits tend to be thin. Steep means your mishits tend to be fat, and that's why I favor it. Also, if you have a steep swing and you hit the ground really hard, it's jarring. You know, particularly as I get more and more gray hairs, that hurts. Like I'm stabbing the ground, and then I go home and have to ice my wrist after a minute. Shallowing your swing is not completely accomplished by your posture. There's a lot of other factors in the swing, but the more you send your shoulders uphill and in this direction, the more the club's going to shallow out and want to go kind of up towards the target. And the more that you keep them level, or devastatingly, what I see a lot is people almost leaning forward of the shot. And then you're actually sending your shoulders downhill, and therefore the club's going to go downhill, and it's very easy to stab the ground. So there's posture, man. The physical explanation, I really hope that the physical explanation helped you and you understood it. If there's anything you kind of missed, just magic a video, rewind and go take a look. Golf Out of Control. I also talk about the mental side. You might be tired of me talking about the same thing throughout setup. That little teacher, there she is with that ruler. So your grade comes from posture. Your grade doesn't come from whether or not you hit it good. It's cute, funny little story. Here's what I want to introduce to you on that mental side. What if that were real? In other words, you're in school and you have to pass this class. And if you pass this class, you get your dream job. You're going to make triple the amount of money that you would make if you can just pass this class. In other words, if that ridiculous scenario were actually true, you would not contemplate anything other than posture. So try to not go at it mentally hypocritically. I'm going to pretend that it's a teacher, but because you're also human, and therefore your instincts are going to constantly want to respond to whether or not you hit it good, right? Stay in posture class long enough to ingrain a good posture, and you won't have all the goofy compensations that have to go along with having poor posture, right? Build your foundation before you start sticking anything else on top of it. That's been the common theme throughout the setup lessons. Gosh, excuse me, and I really hope that you're taking them to heart. And on that spiritual side of things, you know what I reflect on a lot? Not once in my walk with Jesus Christ has he ever told me, Tim, you know what I want you to do? Worry and stress about the future. That's what I want you to do. Worry, stress, lose sleep, get ulcers. He's never said that to me. In fact, he always tells me the dead opposite. Don't worry about it. I got you, right? Take on this as an analogy. Take on your setup. If you don't have to worry about all the results, nothing you and I have talked about is hard. You want to make life hard? Grab a hold of all your results, grab a hold of everything you're worried about, and make that your priority. Or hand that over, man, just hand that over. He'll show you the next right thing to do. It won't be hard. It won't be nearly as complex as taking on all the components of what's going to happen in your future. I try so hard to live this way. I could lie to you and say, and I have fully accomplished it every single day of my, nope, but it's a great ideal and I am aiming for it. And the more I do it, the more blessed and the more calm and content my life is. Yes. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson on setup. Take it to heart, do some work, and you're about to get a whole lot better at golf. Visit my website, golfoutofcontrol.com, because I'm going to be putting more of these up as I can. They take a minute, and there's a lot of work in them, but I hope a lot of people get them, get better at golf. And potentially, I really, really hope it's the primary reason that I've done these, is that through the reflections of these golf lessons, you can see some things in your own lives and learn more about God and how He wants us to live our lives. Because, gosh, it's a lot more fulfilling than just constantly striving for that worldly perspective of success. At any rate, God bless you. I hope to see you on the next one. Oh, by the way, come see me for private lessons. Go to my website, golfoutofcontrol.com. I teach every single day except Sundays. And call me, email me, let's book an appointment, and let's get real specific to you instead of all I'm able to do in the videos is just broadly throw out the advice. With you, I can get very specific. So hope to see you, hope to hear from you, hope you play better golf. God bless you. See you next time.